When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there, good morning to your world. I have to be honest, got a bit of a cold today, so the voice is going to get deeper through the show. It's going to be like one of those cheap sex lines that people phone up, but you're getting it for free. You're getting it for free, people. And today's professional guest, and she is so professional she's going to put me to shame, is a lady who has spent over a decade working in an environment that ultimately left her looking for a new future, although with the skills to make that future happen. Starting her career at News 12 The Bronx after leaving Ohio University with a BA in Public Affairs and Journalism, she worked her way up through the ranks in television. She performed the roles of reporter, producer, host, web editor, fill-in anchor, media relations specialist for ABC News, CBS News, NBC News, the list goes on. And all her time, her confidence was soaring, her experience was becoming broader and broader, and her future was waiting. So as she says, I worked as a TV reporter for a decade who was pitched numerous times a day by publicists. Most of the time, I didn't read more than 2 sentences of what the PR person sent. What they sent was too long, didn't have anything to do with what I covered, wasn't newsworthy, didn't relate to the geographical area I covered, and the list goes on. They all wanted a free commercial for their client. Because of this, I decided to leave the news business and do that job, but better. Fighting words. And she's certainly done that, becoming the owner of Media Maven, a full-service public relations firm providing services in media relations, media training, still photography, video production, social media, writing, blogging, event and on-air hosting, branding, website design, blah, blah, blah. It's all there in that one package. So if you want to grow your personal brand in the right way, then this is the place to come. So did she need every bit of her 10 years experience to get to where she is today, or could she have cut corners here and there? And what is the scariest bit of becoming a business owner? The doing, or in fact the thinking of everything that you need to do? Well, let's find out as we join up dots with the one and only Christina Nicholson. Good morning, Christina. How are you?
Good morning, David. I'm great. How are you?
I've got a sore throat. I've got a stuffy nose, but I think I'm sounding a bit sexy. What do you think?
I love it. I agree. I like the voice.
You wouldn't get Regis and Philbin or whatever his name is. You wouldn't get him saying things like that, would you? This is how we rock on here.
I love it.
Is it Regis Philbin? Is he the old guy in America who just sits on the stool all the time and looks about 150?
Yes. Well, he doesn't do that anymore. He is retired, but that is what he did. He was funny. He was quite a character. I do like him.
He was rude though, wasn't he? Wasn't he not rude to people? The ones I saw, I thought, oh, you're a bit curmudgeonly. He was a bit like the old guy from that Pixar film Up without the glasses. Just sort of a grumpy old guy, wasn't he?
I don't think he was grumpy. I liked it. I thought it was funny, but I don't take a whole lot personally. So maybe some people thought he was rude and I laughed at it at their expense, which isn't very nice.
Maybe you've been in the news business for too long and you've become hardened. You've become hardened to it all. Let's talk about yourself, because that's why you're on the show. You have got a career that, when I was looking at it, I was thinking to myself, this is a career that most people want. And when you look at it, and it was going up, and I've spent a lot of time watching you doing your thing on the news, and it was a brave decision to jump, or was it not? Was it something from the outsider's view might be brave, but actually inside you just had to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say it was brave. I really left the news business just because I kind of felt forced to. I mean, and nobody forced me out. Like, I felt forced on my own just because I had a couple of kids and I didn't have family living near me. And the schedule of local news is just insane. You could work anytime in a 24-hour span, weekends, holidays. So when you have kids and you don't have a support system in your city, you need a flexible schedule. And I wasn't getting that in the news business. So that's why I felt like I was forced to leave.
Do you know what I would do with the news business? I would take control of the whole lot and say, there's not that much news for 24 hours of it. Just give us an hour a day, like they used to do in the old days, and just tell us the big stuff. Not that a cat has got run over by a truck down the road and all the silly stuff. Just give us the big stuff. It's too much news, isn't it, Christina?
Yeah, well, and it's not just that, but it's a lot of negative, sad news. And unfortunately, what is reported is what gets ratings. I mean, the stations are getting a report of who is watching what at what time. So you can go back and say, oh, well, at this time we were covering this and we had a lot of viewers. But when we switched to this happy, positive story, people changed the channel. So that's why you see so much bad news, because unfortunately, regardless of what they say, that's what people want to watch. And after reporting outside of a crime scene all day, just about every day, it really wears on you because you're constantly in an environment where, you're outside of a shooting or a drowning or a domestic dispute. And, if I was doing more fun stuff and more lifestyle entertainment coverage and had a more flexible schedule, I would probably still be in the business and not be an entrepreneur, honestly.
I think you did do a fun thing, though. I think you are going to be the most hated female I've ever had on the show, because I was watching you interview our own Mr. Beckham this morning. And
Yes.
that is a lady's dream. You was very, very professional. And I have to ask you the question is, how did you not kiss him? Because I think I would kiss him. I think I would reach over and grab his flexible football playing lips. Was it hard?
Well, I got to remain professional, one. And two, I did touch him twice. We did, do a handshake, half hug twice. So that was great. That's my claim to fame. But funny enough, about the day I interviewed him, I was in my first trimester of pregnancy with my son.
Right.
And you are never feeling well around that time. So I was like downing saltine crackers. Like, please do not throw up over David Beckham. Do not throw up on David Beckham. That would be terrible. But I was excited to interview him because, he is a handsome man, but I became a bigger fan just because he was so nice. And a lot of times, like I've met celebrities and been let down just because they're not nice people, but he was like one of the nicest. So I'm a huge fan of his now.
And is it a thing? Is it a truth that the name David brings about sex appeal, especially English Davids? Is there a win that I could force myself into the same group with Mr. Beckham?
You are already there, David. Already there.
Go me! I'm going to play that on repeat. Every time you come over to this show, it's just going to be going, that's it, my career is over. So your career isn't over, of course. Your career is absolutely flying. And I went over to your website. As I say, I do some stalking up and down. You've got a ton of stuff on there. And one of the things that really jumped out at me, which I love, because I do a certain amount of podcast coaching. And one of the things that I was looking up and down your list, I thought, yes, was your video about building specific lists. Now, for people who aren't in the online business, everybody says, have you got a list? Have you got a list? How big's your list? How small's your list? I need it. And it's all about lists. But it seems to be like one huge bucket list, but you don't know who's actually in it. It's just like the numbers game. You like to specialize. You like to get focused. I do as well. Explain your reasons.
Yeah, well, I feel like everybody puts such an emphasis on the number. And it's not just with lists, but with your social media following. It's how many followers do you have? And the number doesn't matter. It's the people behind the number. Because if you think about it, you got to dig deep. Why do you want a list? Why do you want a social media following? At the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, it's to make money. So if those people do not care what you're posting on social media, or they do not care about what you're emailing them, then they're no good on your list. That number, that person is not going to give you money. You are just filling up space in their inbox. So I would much rather have 100 people on my list who love me than have 1,000 people on my list who would never buy what I'm selling. And I wish people would get over the number thing, because I've been invited to participate in summits. I've been asked to blog about certain things, and they always ask, how many on your list, or how many Instagram followers do you have? And I always respond, well, if you want 100,000, I could go online and pay somebody $20 to get 100,000 if that's what you want, but they're not going to care about what you're selling. They're not going to care about what I'm saying. So I think the question is, instead of how many people on your list, it's what kind of people are on your list.
I think the answer I would come back with is, how many people on my list? Do you realise I've touched David Beckham twice? And that would that would shut anyone up, wouldn't it?
I am totally going to use that from now on.
Take them off a track. No, but I think you're absolutely spot on, and that's why it sort of so resonated on me. I actually, giving numbers, I had a list of nearly 7,800 on my list, and I came to the conclusion that I did not know what to say to them. It was just, I was sitting there to send an email out. I thought, are they interested in the podcast? Are they interested in what I do away from it? And so I deleted the lot. And I remember my mate saying, "You're mental. You know, the money is in the list. The money's in the list." And I said, "No, I'm going to go again. And now I've got much smaller ones, but laser targeted, and it works brilliantly. Mm-hmm. So I think that's so right. It's not the size that counts, is it, Christina? That's what we're saying.
No, no, exactly. It's not the size. It's what's behind the size.
Absolutely. You see where we're going, people? You can read that anyway, and any way you want. I said she was professional, but there's a dark side to her. She's leading me down to a path. So Media Maven. Now, with it, obviously, you got to a point where you were being pitched all the time and you was thinking, this is just rubbish. I'm not even going to bother reading this. I can do the job better. But did you need to do the 10 years of what you did do to bring it all together? Could you have cut corners, as we asked in the introduction?
I don't think so. And I feel like my experience working as a TV reporter and anchor really sets me apart, because there are a lot of people in the public relations industry who have never worked on the media side, but they spend most of their days pitching the media. So I think it's important to know how the media works and the ins and the outs, because it's very obvious when I work with people who pitch the media as a member of the media, because I do, still work on both sides. It's just very obvious that people are out of touch about how things work. Like, they don't understand, if you're on TV, you need visuals. They don't understand that if you want to be in a glossy magazine, you need to be working 3 months ahead of time, because they plan in advance. And a lot of the time, granted, I'll give PR industry professionals a pass on some things, because a lot of the problem is with the client. A lot of business owners who want exposure don't understand how the industry works, and it's very clear by the questions that they ask and their expectations. So I think it is a very misunderstood industry, and it is something that I try to bring light to on my blog, and when I contribute to other online resources that are targeted towards entrepreneurs, because I feel like there's just a lot of injustice, just like business coaching. Like today, who isn't a business coach? Everybody thinks they're a business coach or they think they're a life coach. And it kind of takes away from people who are legitimate coaches that are legitimately helping people and making them money and helping them live better lives. And I feel like public relations is getting there. It's kind of like that. Everybody thinks they're a publicist. They think if they're a blogger, that means they're a publicist and they can start working with clients. And it just doesn't quite work like that.
I understand how so many people will use their backstories to create a business going forward. And I get pitched a lot by life coaches and business coaches. And as you say, everyone is a coach of something. And the thing about life coaching that I don't get is, just because you've had a rough time in your life, it doesn't mean that it's kind of like the specific email list. It doesn't mean that you're going to be right for every person that comes along. And I see that. It's almost like I'm a master of all just because I've had a bit of a rough time and I've called myself a life coach. What you've done, you've become very specific, haven't you? You've become very specific for that niche. You're not saying that you are, a PR person for everyone. It's for a specific audience. Surely, once again, we're talking about niching down on every sort of level on this subject, but it's the way forward, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's a ton of stuff under the PR umbrella, and I don't do it all because I don't know it all, and I'm not going to pretend to know it all. So, I do the media relations because I worked in the media industry for 10 years. I do video production because as a reporter, I would shoot and edit my own stories a lot. So, I also do blogging because I work as a blogger. I get paid as a blogger. I've taken extensive SEO training and courses. So I just do what I am good at, what I am experienced in, and then I team up with other people who do the other things. Like I have a Google AdWords expert who is my go to person. I have a website developer who is my go to person. And I don't pretend to do it all. I see a lot of public relations firms, they pretend they're doing it all, but they're really outsourcing some things that they don't do. And I feel like when that happens, there can be issues because there's a middleman and there are things lost in translation. So when I work with people, I say, I have a great person for Google AdWords. Here she is. You work with her. Keep me in the loop as to what's going on. I don't pretend to do it. I get rid of the middleman because it's just not necessary and it's not as effective.
But do you need to know the nuts and bolts of everything before delegating stuff out? Do you need to actually understand that this person, she may say she's the greatest Google AdSense, but she's not kind of ripping you off somehow? You need a bit of background knowledge in it, don't you?
Yeah, you definitely need to see success stories, and you need to do your homework before you hire somebody and before you outsource anything. So back to the business coach, everybody's a business coach, but if you're a business coach and you want me to buy your service, I want to know how much you're making, I want to know how you're making it, and I want to know how much your clients are making and how they're making it. I want to hear from your clients and I want to hear them sing your praises. Then I will hire you. And I think the same thing goes for any service based industry.
Now, that's the journalist in you coming out, because I don't think I'd be ballsy enough to go up to somebody and say how much you're earning. I don't even like to ask my wife how much she's earning, because then she'll probably tell me how much she's spending, and that will frighten me. So is it a kind of journalistic? Are you just used to asking those questions? Because there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't like to be saying that to people.
I think as a business coach, it's very valid and it's important to know because I don't want to hire a business coach that's making 20,000 a year because that tells me they're not good at their job. I just hired a business coach and she brings in 7 million a year and her clients bring in 6 figures to 7 figures. So that tells me she knows what she's doing. Now, if you're going to hire a Facebook ads expert, you don't need to know how much money they're making, but you need to know the conversion rates that they get on their ads and the conversion rates they get on their clients' ads.
Because I fall in love with people very, very quickly, Christina. This is one of the problems. I make kind of gut intuition of, oh, this person's a good person. And more often than not, in real life, it works me very well. I decide very, very quickly if the person is good or not. And I would say 99.9% of the time, I'm really good. Online, I'm probably 99.9% wrong all the time. And I've made some shocking decisions where the person's basically turned out to be like Charles Manson's uncle. And I've had sort of real problems in my business because I've gone, oh, they look good, they look excellent, I like their website, and I've jumped into it. I need help on that, Christina. Do you think I need help, or is it nice to just be a naive UK fool?
I mean, it is nice. However, it may cost you a lot of money. So I would just remember there's a difference between personal affairs and business affairs. And if you are giving somebody your money, you want to make sure you're going to get a return on that investment.
I have been married for about 30 years. I know about wastes of money. I know where money disappears. So I can well grab that back in business sense.
Yeah, no, I think that's a different kind. That there you're mixing business and pleasure right there. That's a tricky one.
Yeah, but
That's for another day, David.
No, but isn't that what life is all about? Isn't that what business is all about? When business becomes pleasure, you never work again. And there must be a lot of what you do, because nobody wants to take the entrepreneurial leap and wake up every day going, oh, God, this is crap. I hate this. This is dreadful. It's got to be pleasure, isn't it?
Yeah, you should definitely enjoy what you do because you spend a lot of your time working, and that goes for anybody, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. You should enjoy what you do. Um, However, you should also be making smart decisions.
Because I have a problem with the entrepreneur word, that it's like a badge that you put on and you're suddenly all super powerful. Where I think quite a lot of the guests on the show have actually admitted that more often than not, every day they don't know what they're actually doing. They're just trying stuff, and sometimes it flies, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it's a bit risky, sometimes it's not. But the worst case scenario is not trying, which I suppose is where the entrepreneurial route comes from. Are you somebody that is open to sort of just screwing up and just going for it and learning from your mistakes, or do you have to join up all the dots to make sure it's perfect before you do it?
No, because if you do that, if you join up the dots and wait for perfection, you will never do anything and you will never learn anything. A lot of people say, the reason they don't start a business is because they're afraid to fail. I was never afraid to fail. I mean, I know I'm going to fail. It's inevitable. Everybody is going to fail. But that is the best way to learn because after you fail, you ask why, you figure it out, you reverse engineer that failure, and you turn it into a success. I mean, you look at some of the greatest people who have succeeded in this world, they've all had failures. I believe Walt Disney was fired from a job for not being creative. I think Oprah was fired from a radio station job for not being a good communicator. I mean, you hear so many stories like that. J.K. Rowling. I mean, how many times she's on welfare and homeless and everybody is turning down Harry Potter and now look at what Harry Potter is. I mean, if you don't do anything because you're afraid to fail, then you will definitely fail.
A lot of people don't know what they want as well. They sit there going, oh, this job's rubbish. I hate this. I hate this. And then they look at you standing there, rubbing your hands up and down David Beckham, for example, and go, that's what I want to do. But they're not sort of willing to look at the early hours, the late nights for months and months and months, and it's almost too much choice because they only see the end product, the highlights, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, you should always have goals and you should always be working towards your goals, but in that process, things are going to change. Like my business was totally different when I started. I thought I was just going to be doing client work, and now I'm getting into coaching to people who want to do the PR themselves or they can't afford to pay monthly retainer. And then I'm getting into the online world of selling ebooks and online courses for those solopreneurs who need some help. So I never planned on those things, but in my journey of trying to achieve my goals, I just stumbled upon these different things.
And your journey really was a journey, wasn't it? Because you started off in Ohio, you ended up in the Bronx, you moved around. Were you the driven career girl from a young age? Because it seems that the dots join up pretty seamlessly, but maybe that's and once again a simplistic way of looking from the outside.
Oh, no, I always was. I mean, I had my first job when I was 13 at a root beer stand where you like drive your car up and then the car hop puts the tray on your window. Do you know what I'm talking about? Those little places? Do they have those out there?
No, they don't. And it sounds lunacy. It sounds... It really does. I see these lemonade stands and stuff in films and I think, why would you ever stop and just drink something that some bizarre little child has made? I don't get it.
Yes, well, that brought me some money in middle school and high school, and I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. And then I worked all throughout college. But I'll tell you, I did not realize that breaking into the TV industry was as competitive as it was. After I graduated college, so I had a resume tape that I made at the local ABC station in Columbus, Ohio, and it took me 2 years to get my first full-time job for a couple of reasons. One, it's a crazy competitive industry. There's tons of people who want to work in broadcasting, and there's not a ton of jobs. And two, I did not realize how little the job paid. Everybody thinks because you're on TV, you make a lot of money, you have hair and makeup and this and that. Let me tell you, until you've made it to a big market and you're sitting at the anchor desk, that does not happen. So my first job offer, it was in Denison, Texas, which is a super small town, and it paid $10 an hour. So I was like, $10 an hour? I can't do that. I'm not accepting that job. And at the time, I was working as a server and bartender in Columbus, Ohio, making way more than that. And I was having fun at my job. And then I didn't get my next job offer until a year later. And I said, whatever job offer I get next, I have to take it. I did not realize it was this hard to find a job. So the next job offer was in Beaumont, Texas, another armpit city in America. And it paid me $12 an hour. So I took that job. I worked for $12 an hour. And that year, I ended up spending a lot of the money that I saved from my college job. I actually did it in TV. I did not make more money than I did in college until I got to the Miami market. So my first 3 TV jobs, I made less than what I made in college.
Well, let's play some words now, and let's sort of move us through to the next stage. And I'm actually going to play somebody that you've already spoken about already. Here's Oprah.
The way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, oh, I got all of this stuff. What is the next right move? And then from that space, make the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because you know your life is bigger than that one moment. You know you're not defined by what somebody says is a failure for you, because failure is just there to point you in a different direction.
So would those words have really hit home when you didn't get a job interview for a whole year, or would you have just, punched Oprah in the face and said, "What, a load of rubbish. I don't believe it at all"?
I would never, ever punch Oprah in the face. I am slightly obsessed with her, and we share the same birthday, which just increases my obsession with Oprah. But if you would have told me that when I was younger, I would not have understood it, because I didn't have any experience in what I'm doing now. But now, that is literally how I plan everything, is step by step. I read a book called Essentialism, and it's all about focusing on one thing and finishing that one thing until it's complete, instead of doing a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there, because when you do that, you get nowhere because you have nothing done. So for me today, that advice is everything. But back then, I honestly don't think I would have even understood it or even cared. I just wanted to start my career in TV.
Because, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to say it because I am a podcasting journalist. You're a pretty lady, and I would have thought that you would have got the job, quite easily, because there is a look to you. When I was watching you on TV, you seemed right for it. I watch quite a lot of American TVs, and you don't often see fat, unattractive people on TV, do you really?
But you got to keep in mind, what you saw was my most recent work. You didn't see me 10 years ago. I mean, I did look similar. I mean, I hope I do. I hope I haven't aged that much in the last 10 years. But I was very green. I didn't speak conversationally. It was very obvious when I was reading things or that I was memorized. I wasn't comfortable. I mean, I remember doing my first live shot. I tried to memorize word for word what I was going to say, which never do that when you do anything live. That's a terrible idea, and that is how you mess up. But at the time, I was so nervous. I was trying to memorize everything. Like I've had like total brain farts on live TV where I've forgotten my name and where I was and where I worked. So, I mean, it definitely comes with practice. And that's why going back to not being afraid to fail and waiting for everything is perfect, that will never happen. You just have to do it, and you just have to practice. And that's the only way to get towards perfection.
But your looks must have been a head start, even though, what you look like now might have been different at the beginning. It had to be a key to a door, surely.
I'm not sure. I've never inquired about that in a hiring process, but I will tell you what makes a difference, especially in TV. If they are looking to hire an evening reporter and they have a black person and a white person, they're going to want to bring in a Hispanic or an Asian. Or if they have 3 men and they want to hire one more person, then they're going to bring in a female, because they want to have every demographic, every gender on the air to relate to the viewers, and so the viewers can relate to them. So I do think that is something that is definitely looked at. And when you go to different markets, for example, in the Miami market, the women are attractive, and they wear, I'm gonna try to say this nicely, they wear less clothing, than the women who do the news in Columbus, for example. The women who do the news in Columbus look more like professional women. And some of the women, not all of them, but some of them in Miami, they look more like they're going out to the club sometimes. So I think it depends on a few things, on who the news director is, where the station is, who's already working there. And unfortunately, things like that make it more difficult to get jobs because you may be great for a job, but they don't need a female, they need a male.
So is that another case of kind of giving what the audience want? As we said, with the email list and everything that we've been talking about, it's about knowing who you're targeting and providing them with what they want.
Yeah, I think it definitely all goes back to being relatable. And the more people, like in TV, the more people watching you, the higher the ratings go, the higher you can sell ads for, the more money you make. So when you really relate to your audience, the more money you make at the end of the day.
And does it all come down to audience, or is it the quality of audience? For you, away from TV, what you're doing now at the moment, is it all about having the right customers, or can you argue that a load of bad customers is better than just maybe one or two great customers?
I would rather have a couple of great customers than a load of bad ones, because the bad ones, they're not going to give it their all. So for example, in the coaching and the online courses, and even when I do client work, I need people to work with me. I need you to do what I'm telling you to do. If I have a newspaper reporter emailing me asking me a question and I don't know the answer, I need you to give it to me ASAP. So I would rather have a couple of good clients because they're working towards their goals and they're helping me help themselves. And the biggest source of income and of leads is referrals. So if you have a lot of bad clients and customers, you're not going to like your job because you're not going to be having fun. You're not going to be bringing good results, and then you're not going to get good referrals. So I think just focus on what is working and what you are enjoying, and then you will get those referrals, and then you will grow.
Right, okay, let's give $1 million question for a lady or gentleman in a cubicle in America, and they're sitting there listening to this and they're thinking to themselves, right, this sounds good. Christina's done it. David's done it. They don't sound any better than me. I can go out and do that. What kind of skills do you think somebody out there who wants to start an online business actually need? Is it the technical skills, or is it more the internal personal stuff?
It's totally the internal personal stuff. I mean, you can learn the technical things. That's why I hate in job interviews, they always ask about your experience. At
Yeah.
any job, you can learn how to do the job, but it's your character and your work ethic that really matters. So I would say three things. One, you need to be self motivated. If you are not self motivated, and if you do not have a good why, like, why am I doing this, then you will never succeed. Because let me tell you, it is not easy to start your own business and make it successful, because if it were, everybody would be doing it. You're going to work 14-hour days, but you are going to choose when you take a break, when you go on vacation. You can do it from home. You can take your child to swimming lessons at 4 p.m. and get back to work at 9 p.m., and nobody's going to give you an attitude about it. But to do that, you have to be self motivated, because nobody's telling you what to do. You have to tell yourself to do it. Number two, you cannot be afraid to fail. Do not worry about being perfect. Stop worrying about failing, because you're going to fail. It's inevitable. Everybody does. Just get over that. And number three, you have to promote yourself. I feel like so many people are so concerned about what other people are going to think. Well, what if I put this on Facebook and it doesn't work? Then what are people going to think about me? If you don't promote what you're doing, nobody is going to know what you're doing, and your business will never grow. Maybe because I'm in publicity, I have no shame in promoting myself. I promote myself all the time. I let everybody know what I'm doing 24/7 on social media as it relates to my business. And that's because 9 out of 10 of the jobs that I've gotten from referrals are from people who follow me on social media and they see the work that I'm doing.
But that's a big leap, isn't it, Christina? That's, it's sensible, and it is sensible, but that's a kind of icky thing, isn't it? Nobody likes to get up and sing at a party. Nobody likes to be made to dance when they don't want to. So that sort of self-publicity thing, it's very, very hard. Is that why people will come to you to take that sort of element of their business away from them?
Yeah, I think it's maybe a mixture of that and they just don't know what to do. Like it's a lot easier to put something up on Facebook and say what you're doing, but when you want somebody else to promote you to their audience, you got to work a little harder to earn that exposure. So that's why they look to me, because they've tried to do that already and it's not working. Because, you cannot control what another media outlet does. I can't control what another media outlet does, but I can use my experience to try to get another media outlet to give you that exposure. But again, it's just if you want to be your own boss and a business owner, there are some things that you just have to let go of. And everybody says you have to get out of your comfort zone. And that's 100% true. And it sucks. It's not fun stepping out of your comfort zone. But when you do it, you see results. If not right away, over time.
There is a lot of people doing Facebook Live at the moment that, to be honest, I wish they were in their comfort zone, because what they're presenting to the world is just rubbish. You look at it and it's like two people are looking and that person disappears very, very quickly. What are they doing wrong? Because it's a big bandwagon, Facebook Live at the moment, and it's got a huge amount of bad press, but there's some great stuff happening as well. But people don't seem to grasp that just turning it on. And I see a lot I don't know why ladies are doing this. Maybe it's just the sort of streams that I'm looking at. Sweaty ladies straight out of the gym. They've come off the gym, off the treadmill, and it's almost like, I'm really going for it. I'm sweaty. Look at my sweaty body. I don't want to see sweaty women, but I keep on seeing them on Facebook Live. Is that a big no-no? Should you look more professional? Should you look authentic? Should you look honest? How should you play it?
I think it depends on what you're doing. If you are a personal trainer and you are trying to get clients or you're trying to get people to your gym because you own a gym, then I think the sweaty Facebook Lives are okay. But if you're just doing it to do it, it doesn't make sense. So I think when people do a Facebook Live, they have to think, first of all, what's the point of this Facebook Live? What do I want to get out of it? You got to have a call to action. And you have to tell a story. You have to show something to people. Just like when you pitch the media, you need to entertain them and you need to educate them. And if you can do it with any kind of emotion, you get bonus points because people will be interested in that. So before you do a Facebook Live, you want to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You want to tell a story, or else people are not going to be interested. For example, when I get done talking to you, David, I'm going to host a couple of segments on a national morning show that airs on Lifetime TV. And when I'm in hair and makeup, I think I'll do a Facebook Live, and I think I'll have the woman doing my makeup give a little makeup tutorial. So all of the women who follow me on Facebook can get a makeup tutorial from a professional makeup artist and see what is happening as it's happening. So that's entertaining and that's educational. There's going to be a start, a middle, and an end. And I think when people just hop on Facebook Live, they're just doing it to do it, and that's not strategic. You need to be strategic with what you're doing online.
But have you got something sexy there? Because I thought to myself, yeah, I'd actually watch that. I've got no interest in makeup, or it just seems something additional that, the most of the ones I see, it's somebody in their office talking into a webcam, and you think, well, there's no extra additional thing. You've got something sexy there, haven't you?
I think it's show and tell. Like people want to go live because Facebook likes it when you're live and they increase your reach when you do that. But instead of sitting there and talking about something, show us what you're talking about. Don't sit there with the webcam. Move it around and show us what you're talking about. I did a Facebook Live yesterday. I was on the local NBC station doing a segment, and my Facebook Live was behind the scenes. I showed me setting up the table. I showed us right before we went live. You could see behind the scenes when I was live. When I was done, the anchor and I talked to whoever was watching, and that was it. So you definitely want to show and tell, or else why would people watch? They can get that information anywhere else.
Brilliant advice. So there's got to be a point to it. There's got to be a beginning. It's just like a classic storybook. You open it up once upon a time, it finishes nicely, and it's complete. But these kind of rambling dialogues just don't work.
Yeah, and you want to get something out of it. Like, what is the point of you doing this Facebook Live? You want people watching to get something out of it. And I always ask myself, is this something that I would boost as an ad? Could this work as an ad? Would this increase my following? Could this lead to a revenue generation? So I think people just need to be more strategic. Too many people online, they're just throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. And there is so much crap online that if you don't catch somebody's attention quickly, they're going to be gone. So you really need to think about what you're doing before you do it.
Ah, great advice. Great advice. Right. That's led us perfectly, not really perfectly, but I'm just going to throw it out anyway, to the speech that Steve Jobs created back in 2005. It made the whole theme for Join Up Dots. And to be honest, Christina, I almost forgot about it, but I'm going to play it anyway. Here he is, Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever, because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
So they're words that kind of play to your strengths, really, the trust, the faith, the intuition.
Yeah, I mean, I think just do it. I mean, not to like steal Nike slogan, but if you don't just do it, you will never know what could happen.
But the key point is you don't know what you don't know. That's the stumbling block that so many people have. They know, oh, I hate this job, but they don't know what they want to do. You know, I was very, very lucky. I stumbled into podcasting and I never dreamt for a moment it would go like it has. But I could have stumbled into something totally different and it would have been dreadful. That's the problem. People want it to be kind of realised. They want to know that they're not going to fail again, isn't it, at the beginning?
Yeah, but failure is inevitable and it's the best way to learn. I say, would you rather learn from somebody who has studied something or who has actually done something? And most people would learn from people who have done something because that is the best way to learn and you learn from those mistakes. If you get everything perfect every step of the way, you're not learning anything.
No, absolutely. So when you look back on your life, what would be your big dot? We always like to ask this question at the moment when you think, yeah, this is really when it came together for me.
I think, I don't know if it was when I turned 30 or after I had a couple of kids, I really just stopped caring about what other people thought of me. There's no other way to say it. I did what I wanted to do, when I wanted to do it, the way I wanted to do it, and I stopped trying to please people around me. The only people I try to please are clients who pay me to do work. I will try to please them. But other than that, if you don't like my career choice, I don't care because it's my career choice. I feel like so many people live their lives to please others and make decisions based on what other people are going to think. And when I stopped caring about what other people thought, I was doing what I wanted to do and I was much happier in life.
I've never cared what people thought. As a small child, all the way through my life, if somebody said you got to wear black, I'd try to wear grey. If somebody says do this, I'd try to do. I always kind of wanted to be on my own somehow. I never cared about what people think. And even now, I don't like upsetting anybody. You know, I like people to generally, feel better off for being in my vicinity. But if I do upset them, it bothers me for a little bit, but not too much, because things happen like that. I just think you've got to live your own life, don't you?
Yeah, and no matter what you do, you will never please everyone. So you got to stop worrying about that.
Have I pleased you today, Christina, though? That's the big question.
100%. You and your sexy voice.
Oh, you see, I'm going to play that now. I thought the first one was good enough. I'm going to put that on rewind. You've changed it. You've changed it again. Well, this is the part that we've been leading up to, and this is the part that we call a sermon on the mic, when we send you back in time to have a one-on-one with the young Christina. And if you could go back and speak to the young Christina, what age and what advice would you give? Well, we're going to find out, because I'm going to play the theme, and when it fades, you're up. This is the sermon on the mic.
with the best bit of the show. The Sermon on the mic. The Sermon on the mic.
I would tell my younger self two things. One is do not care what other people think of you. I don't care now, but it took me until I was 30 to stop people pleasing. When I was in middle school and high school, I was worried about what other people would think of me if I did this or if I said that, and it held me back from doing what I truly wanted to do. So I wish I had a little bit more confidence when I was younger to just do what I wanted and say what I wanted and not live to please other people. And I would also tell myself to think outside the box. I think growing up, we're all taught after high school, you should go to college, then you should get a job. And granted, things are different today in 2017. I feel like there are a lot more opportunities for us to do different things, and the internet has opened a world of doors for opportunities. But I think I was just following the steps and following the motions of what you're quote unquote supposed to do. And I wish I would have done a little bit more. I wish I would have studied abroad. I wish I would have taken more trips and not have taken everything so seriously. I mean, yes, you should take college seriously, but you should also have fun and you should do different things and learn different things. But I was so focused on my career in TV that is all I worked for. And I feel like maybe I would have missed out. Maybe I did miss out on some things by not thinking outside of the box.
Great advice. Christina, what's the number one best way that our audience who've been listening today can connect with you?
Well, I want to give your audience my ebook for free. So if they go to mediamavenandmore.com/dots, they can get my ebook, Master Your Media Relations, for free. And it basically just tells them all about how to pitch the media with a great story, how to follow up with a journalist and maintain a relationship for more media coverage. So they can get that at mediamavenandmore.com/dots.
We will have all the links on the show notes. Christina, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you've got more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Christina, thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Christina Nicholson. So she goes through university, she gets her qualification, and she spends a couple of years, but she's willing to go for it. She's not willing to sacrifice the opportunity of living the life on her terms and then making that bold decision to go again, take all that experience that she had and build her own business. And little by little, she's getting there. She's doing some great stuff. Go over to the links on the show notes and have a look around her site. Obviously, get the free gift. And if you want any help with publicity and PR, she's the lady for you. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Join Up Dots. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to bringing you the next one. Thanks very much. See ya. Bye-bye.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice That Every Successful Entrepreneur Practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.